What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And this one, I want to break down what's going on with NIO, Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to talk about why tomorrow is going to be another important day as we have more data coming out, not to mention the fact that we're getting very close to NIO's big deliveries reveal. But before I break down all this information, before I talk about why on earth NIO is in a very, very critical state right now, what you should be watching for in the markets, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. Anyways, let's talk about what's going on with NIO. NIO is down 0.42%. But one thing that's worth noting is that you could tell that there's this base that's being built around the $7 area. NIO is trying to hold above $7. We're still seeing buyers trying to defend it. So as of right now, it's not insanely bearish. It's not insanely bullish either. It's just flat between 7 and 7.5, going back and forth and back and forth. And the way the market moves could affect it, but I think that NIO is going to be on its own for some time because we have some catalysts coming out. We have deliveries coming out in just a couple of days. That's going to be very important for November, especially as we approach December. And then we're also going to be looking at earnings coming out for next week, most likely. The reports are saying it should be December 5th. I'll be double checking by Friday. I'll know for sure if it's going to be reported on then or not. And we'll be watching that very, very carefully. But I want to talk about the market, why tomorrow is going to be a big data day since we have lots of data coming out, and all of this could affect the markets. So for today, we had the GDP numbers that were basically very close to expectations, and NIO kind of liked this data. The market liked the data too. We got a little pop before the market ended up dropping, and this caused NIO to actually close kind of red, but kind of flat for the most part too. We had a couple of Fed speakers. They just said the same things that we've heard from before. The Fed has work to do, and it's just the same speech over and over again, to be honest with you. For tomorrow, however, an hour before the market opens, we have the PCE data report coming out. This is going to be very important, so we'll see what happens with the data as it affects the Fed's policies. Then we have some more Fed speakers and PMI, and then we have a lot of bill auctions coming out at 11:30 a.m. So we'll be listening to all of this, watching to see what happens. And then don't forget, guys, that Friday is going to be a very big day too, since we have the PMI, not the PMI, but the ISM manufacturing data, the manufacturing PMI, right? And all this manufacturing data, plus Jerome Powell is giving a speech at 11 o'clock a.m. So we'll be watching to see how this affects the market for Friday. All right, so with that being said, let's now talk about NIO and focus on what's happening with the share price and some big news. On November 29th, China's leading privately owned automotive technology group and NIO ended up signing a strategic partnership on battery swapping, which is big news for NIO. And NIO is once again in a very, very good state thanks to this. This is helping them gain more and more leverage. And this is going to help them kind of like switch their ideas, exchange information, just continue to grow from there. Volvo Polestar owners are basically partnering with NIO for EV battery swapping. This is good news for them. On top of this, you can see that NIO and Geely are basically collaborating on battery standards, the new swapping technology, the network expansion, which is good news for them. NIO is saying that the process could be done in as little as 3 minutes compared to fast charging, which could take between 15 minutes and an hour. And they're going to continue to develop this technology and invest in this. And this could be very helpful for them as time goes on. I'm sure a lot of these EV owners don't like having to charge vehicles for far too long. And for the short term and for many years to come, the way in which EVs have to be charged is going to remain like that for quite some time. But many people would prefer just swapping a battery just to get it done instantly. And that is something that could be done with these NIOs. So we'll see what happens as time goes on. Geely has around 300 stations up and running, and it's going to expand its network. And if this once again works alongside NIO, this could help them just once again continue to bring in more quality and etc. This is going to expand their battery swapping to improve profits too. This is once again going to help them out. They want to trim staff by 10%. At least they said that in the past. We'll see how this goes, but as of right now, it's been good news for them. NIO did cut some prices to keep up, but once again, I'll be waiting to see how earnings look just to check those margins and how operating margins and other things like that are looking. For earnings, we have Foot Locker, Dollar Tree, and just a couple of others that just came out. This was pretty decent thus far. But for tomorrow, we have TD Bank and we also have Dell. So Dell is going to be a big one to be watching for. There's not really a whole lot going on with the data. Price-price ratio is down as NIO is underperforming. Wednesdays are supposed to be typically green days. We're actually kind of flat today. Thursdays tend to be strong, only about 50% of the time. So it's basically a coin flip during the second hour. And then after like the 2 p.m. period of the day, that's when we tend to see more volatility. And besides that, there's not really a whole lot going on. We have about like 48 million in volumes, nothing too crazy. And it was very, very flat, if anything. But I would say that it wasn't bad. And this is still, a little bit promising if we get some good data moving forward. So we're approaching November 30th tomorrow, the last day of November. This is very important because as it's the last day of November, I think it's very important to note that whether the market tries to hold up or not, going into December, I'm leaning a bit more bearish for the markets. But for NIO in particular, I'm not going to like really hold that same bias because NIO's at some critical support. And one big catalyst is going to be their deliveries for the month of November. We'll see how that looks and if that causes any volatility. November deliveries should be coming out on either Friday or Saturday here in the US. So one of those days is when it should be coming out. It depends on when NIO reports it, and we'll be watching that moving forward. So what do I see for the share price? Very flat, it's very boring. We might just continue to hover between 7 and 7.5 for an extended period of time. And we'll see what happens with the market moving forward. NIO may just remain very flat for some time, but then we'll see what happens going into Friday. I do want to call out that for SPY, I think that we're in a topping process. We have this quadruple bearish divergence, and I think that there's going to be a sell off coming. We could get one more pop. It is technically possible, but once again, guys, I don't see myself going long here. Not financial advice, but I actually shorted SPY at 458. Uh, if this thing tries to break higher again, I'll be looking for more short entries. And then once again, I still anticipate there's going to be a big sell off coming. So if you look at the daily charts, you can see that we just pumped, getting almost no pullback. And on top of that, you'll notice that we have support at 445.97, 20 EMA. I'm very confident this is going to be tested. And then if that fails us, we're going to be filling this gap down here at 440. That's going to be our next target. If that fails us, we could be heading down towards the next gap fill. There's also another gap down here around like 430. And then there's another one down at like 425. At the very least, I think we're going to see 445, if not 440. I think we're going to get a very healthy retracement for the next 2 weeks, at least, and it may start on December 1st. Now, for Tesla, we have the Cybertruck event for tomorrow. We got this big rejection of this bearish divergence, and Tesla is not in the best of states. However, it's not the end of the world just yet. Tesla is still at 244. If we're bullish, you want to see Tesla get above 250, we could get one more push up, but watch 252, 255, and then 257 as resistance. It looks bearish. The chart looks like it's not in the strongest of states, but just to be safe, it should get a little rebound first approaching the event, and it might just continue to sell off. If it does sell off, watch 240 as critical support at our 30 minutes 200 EMA. If that fails us, 238 is next, and even lower levels than that. Nonetheless, guys, I still see Tesla selling off at the market for December, and I think that this is still going to affect it. For Aapl, I'm leaning bearish. The reason I say that is because Aapl attempted to break out and we failed again. We also have a head and shoulders like pattern forming on the 4-hour time frame, right? We have this left shoulder here, the head and then the right shoulder forming, and it looks like it's going to be testing 189. If that fails us, it's going to start sinking down towards this imbalance at 185 over the next couple of trading days. So I anticipate some downside. Make sure you watch it very, very carefully just to see if there's some downside coming. And I think that there's a very, very good chance of there being a pullback over the next couple of weeks. So we'll be watching that as well. On the QQQ time frame, or on the 4-hour time frame for the QQQ, we have a triple, if not a quadruple bearish divergence. This is actually more of a triple on the 4-hour right now. And I think this is just going to play out. The more it pumps, the less strong it looked. And you could see this is likely going to retrace just like SPY. We could get one more push up. It could push a little bit more one more time once we get the PCE numbers. But eventually I see a sell-off for December. And I think that we're going to be watching this come down towards 380 at the very least to fill this gap at 378. And maybe even below that. But I anticipate some downside nonetheless. Finally, for Nvidia, we got a green close, but Nvidia has been on a downtrend. It's failed to break out. And we have this gap to fill down here. We haven't fully filled this gap. So I think that Nvidia could actually sink back down, might pop a little bit, retest, 483, then reject and start sinking back down towards 475. I anticipate some downside. We'll see what the data causes for tomorrow. Maybe we get a little pop first. But still, going into December, I still think that there could be some downside coming. We might see Nvidia sink even more. So that being said, the market being bearish could slow NIO down a bit. It could even cause NIO to lose 7, but I'm not going to make the call yet. I think NIO is just going to range trade between 7 and 7.5. Look for a little pop with the inflationary numbers coming out in the morning, then some downside with some sideways price action. PCE tends to be correlated with CPI, and every single CPI piece of data has been as expected. So there's a good chance that PCE will meet expectations, which could cause the market to pump a little bit. But then there's always going to be the risk of downside for December, which is something I'm still anticipating. Looking at the data, looking at the charts, they're all pointing in that direction. So that being said, I think that that could affect NIO causing a pop and drop tomorrow. It could backtest 7.4 at the 50 EMA, then reject. But here's the thing: don't turn too bearish or too bullish quite yet. Let's wait and see what happens with the data. Let's wait and see what happens with NIO's deliveries. The data should be coming out on Friday or Saturday, so we'll just have to wait and see. All right, guys, that's it for this one. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day. Remain calm, cool, and collected. And once again, I'll see you guys very, very soon. Thank you, NIO to the moon, because the long term is still bright despite the short term downside we're seeing. And peace out.